So, joining us today from Las Vegas is Tyler Williams, which is the head of the Aura brand team in Zappos, the team that is responsible for creating Zappos a unique and quirky, sometimes you might say, persona. He's also the first Fungineer of Zappos, which we might spoke about it later on. And before joining Zappos, he joined Zappos at 2011, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So he did everything from production to construction to even being in a rock band, and end up being one of the managers of the marketing department in Zappos. So welcome, Tyler. We're so glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Benny. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great talk together. So let's go dive right in. From what I've known, you've been a very successful, relatively speaking, a musician or a rock star, you might say. What brings a successful rock star that has much experience in music, but little to no experience in e-commerce, marketing, and stuff, and no degree? What makes someone like you possibly want to try to get hired in one of the most difficult companies to get hired to in the States?
Well, I had just gotten off of a tour. I've been touring with a rock band across the US. I was looking at opportunities in Las Vegas where I was living at the time, and there's obviously a lot of really good opportunities in Las Vegas for musicians. So I was actually interviewing to be one of the drummers in the Blue Man Group, so the background drummer in that show. I was on my final interview. I was likely probably going to get that job, and my wife took a tour of Zappos. And when she took a tour there, they talked about the core values and the company culture. And so she just came back and said, hey, I know you're looking at getting something stable here music-wise in Las Vegas, but there's this other company that's really interesting. And she knows me really well. And at the time, I was getting a little burned out on the lifestyle of music, which is, always traveling or late nights,
Yeah.
back-to-back shows. The culture of music is, it's a difficult lifestyle, or it can be, unless you have ultimate self-control, which I don't have that.
Yeah.
So,
not many musicians do.
yeah, exactly. So she told me about this company. So, and she had the head of HR's card. So she gave that to me, and I went online and I started watching videos about the company. I had never heard of Zappos before. I'd never even shopped online at that point in my life, maybe here or there, but very rarely. So I started watching these videos they never talked about selling anything or selling shoes. It was
Really?
always valuing your people, our 10 core values, companies that are humble, that build a positive team and family spirit, that embrace and drive change. And so as I was watching the videos on YouTube, I just really aligned with the core values and I aligned with the culture. So I decided, why not? Let's give it a try. So at the time, I didn't have any work experience in e-commerce or any real office job experience at all. So I didn't know how I was going to get in, because at that time, Zappos was harder to get into than Harvard or Stanford, because
Oh,
we had
really?
so many applicants. So I was a little discouraged about that, but I decided I'd throw my name in the hat, and I had a pretty unique cover letter video, and they hired me into the call center. So I took a real big step back financially at the time, but I just felt like something was leading me to work at this company. And I wanted a change in my life at the time. So they accepted me. So here I am.
Oh yeah, here you are. So that's really impressive to get hired by a video clip. I actually recommend everyone to go see it, because it's a really it's really a creative and nice way to get hired in a job, especially one that it's difficult to get into, like Harvard or Stanford. Okay, so you got in. Okay, so you made the first step. You're in, but they hired you to be, a customer service representative or something alike,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. But how did someone with, you entered with no experience, no degree, no, not really tangible experience in all the things that you mentioned in e-commerce or marketing or whatever. So 6 years later, you're a manager in Zappos. And so how did that happen? One time you could say, it's a really nice trick that you pulled off. You got hired, but to get promoted to be a manager, that's not a coincidence anymore.
Yeah. So when I first got to Zappos, first off, I knew most of our senior leaders start in the call center. It's almost like a rite of passage inside of the organization to answer our customers' phone calls, understand that we're a customer service first company. So when I started there, I just began to do fun things. So I started, we started Boots and Shorts Thursdays, Tutu Tuesdays. I would sign up. I'd volunteer for a lot of to work on events. So with a production and music and construction background, I had like a jack of all trades kind of random set of skills. So if the company needed a Halloween float built for the Halloween parade, I of course would take on that project. I ended up kind of just naturally helping the events team and helping and then helping the marketing team on some projects. And they just kind of started to tap into me for more and more and more things. So I was constantly getting kind of pulled off the phones. And then I just developed this nickname, like they would call me the Fungineer. And so that kind of stuck as the Fungineer around
So it's
the
just
office.
evolved naturally?
Yeah, well, Zappos is an interesting company because they promote from within. They try not to hire senior leadership from outside of the company, but they also implemented something called holocracy or self-organization. And what
Okay.
that does is it kind of opens up horizontal pathways throughout the organization. So traditionally you get into a department. So traditionally, if I was in the customer service department, I become a lead in the customer service department. Then I might become a senior leader, and then I might become a director. And then I might eventually someday be head of the call center, right? That's the traditional trajectory.
Yeah.
That's very rare that somebody starts in the call center and then goes into merchandising and then becomes a leader in traditional organizations.
Yeah.
With Zappos, that's not the case. The lines of connectedness throughout the organization are all over the place. So those people who are naturally good at something, and I've seen it happen again and again. I've seen call center agents that are just really good personalities become MCs for our events, get into video production, start making videos for Zappos. And so those are all things that people can just naturally do. So it's not just the things that I did. It's kind of the way that Zappos is organized helped that trajectory happen. So eventually, this is a pretty interesting story. I got called by Tony, our CEO's assistant, and she said, "Tyler, we have an emergency. Tony's supposed to speak for Amazon and Disney Group inside of his apartment in Las Vegas, and we don't have any production." So I was like, I can help. I can bring the speakers and, a microphone for him and project it and show his presentation. So I went to his apartment and I set all that up. And at the time, the chief of staff, her name's Jamie Naughton, she was there. She said, "Who are you? Like, where did you come from? How did you learn all these things?" And so I said, "Well, I'm Tyler. I'm kind of known as the Fungineer." And so she interviewed me and she said, "Well, why don't you write a job description, call it whatever you want, ask what you want to get paid, and then send it to me, and I'll see if Tony will accept it." So
wow.
I wrote a job title, the Fungineer. I wrote what I wanted to do. I wanted to help with the company events and parties and with marketing and things like that. And I sent it in, and a few days later, she said, "Yep, you're now the Zappos Fungineer. Good luck." And so that's
such a
how
good story. So you're actually saying, yeah. So you're actually saying, that the basic structure of the company itself was the thing that allowed you to, to move in so many different paths, to go from this and jump to there and then end up where you are today because there's this openness or this, I don't know, flexibility or even the mindset of allowing this to happen?
Yeah, so it's really the structure of the system of the organization. So I would say about 7.5 years ago, the company moved to what's called a holocracy, which
Mm-hmm.
is a system that's trying to, instead of have top-down hierarchies, have self-organization. And so the way that works is the CEO signs a constitution. So he distributes his power, or they distribute their power throughout the organization. And then the hierarchy is more built around purpose and accountabilities. And so then circles form. And so instead of it being a pyramid, the information goes, the circles get bigger and bigger, and there can be
Mm-hmm.
circles within circles. So what that does is that allows a lot of cross-linking between the organization and a lot of networking to happen. So the ultimate goal, I think, the future of companies, we know that hierarchy doesn't scale. Hierarchy can be good in small doses, small, really high performing teams. It works really well. But as soon as you get, really, 1,500, 2,000 employees, 5,000 employees, it begins to break down. And
Yeah.
so this system is more built to create, think of a company more like a city instead of
Mm-hmm.
like a military.
Yeah.
So when you think of it like a city, the mayor, for example, in a city, does a lot of things for the city, but is not involved in the day-to-day citizens' life or tell them how to do their work or how to go about their business. They make systemic changes, right? They put budgets in certain
Yeah.
places, they create infrastructure. And so that's really where leadership starts to get into at Zappos, is it's a networked organization that's built on market-based principles. So that moves into, once you have market-based principles like a city, you have people within the city, you have infrastructure, and you have leadership. That's how we believe that you can create a company that stands the test of time. Because right now companies are they're rising quick, but they're failing quick too, because new emerging technologies come out so quickly, and these big companies just can't adapt quickly enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a really great analogy of having leadership as a mayor of a city instead of actually being the commander of the army.
Yeah.
Sounds great. But let me ask you this, and it might be a bit, I don't know, not too politically correct question, but I'll ask it anyway because this is our event.
Yeah.
I work a lot with companies and organization, and in general in the business world, there's a lot of talk about how culture is important and how you need to put the employee in the center. And in many cases, it's how to say, it's fake. It's fake. It's
Yeah.
just like it's kind of a PR trick that is more to attract talent to come to join the company, or there's all kinds of companies talking, no, we're a family, and then they fire the employee the next minute. So my question is, if we take down the nice words and how important it is, because it does, is Zappos really, really such a company that not just talks the talk but also walks the walk? And if so, how? You talk about the companies built around employees and around customers and around community. And you say a lot of really nice words that are not common in the business world, like, authenticity and vulnerability and speaking from the heart and connection and taking care of each other, which is really, these are amazing, amazing words, but how they don't remain as empty slogans hang up on someone's wall. And on
Mhm.
top of that, that was a very long question. How do you actually translate that into actual results?
So when I first got to Zappos, I was kind of skeptical. I was wondering when the hammer was going to drop, I guess, so to speak. So I was like, they say all the right things, new hire training, they talk about the 10 core values, how they're more than a plaque on the wall. To your point, they say all the right things.
Yeah.
And I can tell you in my journey at Zappos, the culture is definitely real, but the culture isn't perfect. In fact, it's far from perfect. But when you create value around and freedom for employees to add to and to contribute to the culture, we have a lot of companies that come and tour Zappos. They see our 10 core values, they see our fun office place, and everybody's decorated their desks and all the fun things, and they're like, okay, we want this. But we always remind them, your culture may look very, very different from Zappos's culture. We are an online retailer. If you're a machine shop, or are a car wash company, your culture may look very, very different. And there's been a lot of companies that I think, Southwest Airlines,
Yeah.
Dutch Bros Coffee, their culture looks different than Zappos', but they've created their own unique version of it. And the reason is because if you dig back behind it all, you have to have leadership that allows room for it and that values it and puts real resources behind contributing to it. You can't allow I love finance, but you can't allow the spreadsheet and data people who are trying to contribute profits to the shareholders to have all of that. So one of the unique things that Zappos did early on was, traditional companies, and this is going back to my role in marketing, I have a marketing budget that has 3 targets. The first target is our employees. The second target is our community. And when I say community, that's our local community that we live in, and our customers. And I look at it through, okay, the employees is on marketing. So marketing dollars is important to not just buy ads and try to get people to find your company through Google and Facebook, but when you invest in your employees with real tangible benefits and real, having them connect with each other, those things make a big difference in your organization. And we know that every dollar we spend on our employees, whether it's a happy hour, one of the things that is really amazing about Zappos is, pre-COVID, it was paying for our employees to get together and hang out with each other, not work related. And so those things just help naturally build trust throughout the organization. And again, I can't stress enough, Zappos's culture is far from perfect, but I can say it's very, very real. I've never been in a company or in any sort of organization ever where it was talked about more of how employees are feeling, how are employees doing, how do we do better as an organization communicating with them, making their lives better, not just making them better workers. Because I think a lot of people, they look at it as, well, so how can we get people to be more productive and innovative and creative at work? We more try to dig back and say, how can we just help their lives be a little better?
Wow.
Whether that's their relationships in their family, giving them the time off that they need to because if a person, I there's a singer, her name is Jewel, and she talks
Mm.
about this thing. It's called whole human, which some people work out their work muscle, and their work muscle is really strong, but their family and their relationship muscle is really weak and it's atrophied, and they've allowed that part of their life to to not be healthy. And that could be even their physical health, their mental well-being. So whole human is about, once you can actually dig in and help people be successful, that's the most exponential growth you can have at a
Yeah,
company. One healthy
definitely.
person, and I feel like I'm living proof of that at Zappos. Is I came in, and
Yeah.
because I came in as a person who was creative, and I was driven, and I was healthy as an individual. I was able to be successful inside the organization because they made room for that, and they continued to make sure I didn't get burned out, or I
Mm.
didn't take on too much. And so there was times where I got sat down with leadership, and they said, Tyler, we've noticed a change in you. What's going on? Are you okay? I'm like, well, I'm just really worked and stressed. And they're like, okay, well, take care of that. Take care of you, because we know that when you take care of you, you're going to take care of the organization. And that just those little conversations that happen here and there, by either if there's a mentor or a friend inside of the organization, those are what makes all the difference. You can have the best core values, you can have a plaque on the wall, and all of that's meaningless when your people are unhealthy, when they're stressed, when they don't feel safe. I believe that a leader should wake up in the morning and think of three things: the safety and health of your employees, the safety and health of your vendors, and the safety and health of your customers. And those type of things, if you wake up every morning and you truly go after those goals, you're going to see more success ever than some crazy strategy that you come up with to target your, so that's just the way it is. But I could say, to answer your question, the culture is very real at Zappos, but it's also, it's not perfect. It's an ever
It's
evolving
human.
thing. It
It's
needs
human.
yeah, and it needs constant tending to, and it needs constant care. So you can't just, I think what happens to a lot of companies is they want to check the box of, we did the culture thing, we did all these things, we have all these benefits, and instead of really, and then they think that they can move on to that next thing. And
Yeah.
it's like a garden. You have to constantly be tending to it, or else it'll go bad, and it can go bad really, really quick. We have a saying at Zappos: we hire and fire for culture. And you hire slowly and you fire quickly, because there is people that can have a negative impact
Yeah,
on your culture. And you need to get
definitely.
really, really good at identifying those individuals and those weeds and getting them out of your garden, because they'll take over. And it can happen very quickly. Even in a healthy culture, negativity spreads, and it can spread very, very fast.
Wow. No, I definitely agree with that, and I take from this, that take care of you. That's a really a good mindset to take when you go about your work in the role of a leader. So it's really nice to hear that. Um, so we're now living in a very strange times, to say the least. There's a lot of things going on everywhere, almost everywhere, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of you know upheaval, and the world is being like hectic. Um, so when you look at not look at the world, but when you look at it from the Zappos perspective and what's happening now in the world, what do you think needs to be addressed or changed? And yeah,
Well, I think there's some really, I'm gonna dig into this one, because I've, if you look historically at times where humankind, our whole species, humankind, advances and makes some of the best advances, both technologically, in forms of sanitation, healthcare, technology. It happens during times of war or pandemics.
yeah,
But one of the things that I think is really important for people to get out of is the news stream. The news stream and social media stream right now can be a very unhealthy place to spend your time. And there's a lot of negative energy there. And the reason there is because of their business models. Their business models is to collect your eyeballs so that they can sell those eyeballs to advertisers. This is why I'm not a traditional marketer, because I think that that's a disgusting and terrible business model. Is I want to get your eyeballs on something. And the best way for me to get your eyeballs on something is to play to your amygdala. And your amygdala is that fight or flight response. That's why every time you turn on the news, there's a disaster coming, there's a hurricane. And if it's
yeah,
not a hurricane, it's this. If it's not this, it's this. And yes, the pandemic is real. It's a real thing, and we need to be cautious, and we need to be careful, and we need to be kind to others, and wash our hands, practice social distancing, do all the things, right? But more so, it's equally as important that we spread positive energy, and we try to pull people out of a mindset of fear and uncertainty. Because yes, this is a very unprecedented time, but if you really change, you know, I like what Simon Sinek says, where he says, fear and excitement are actually the same chemical reaction that's happening in your mind, in your body. You're having the
Yeah.
same exact chemical reaction, but you but but you describe one as fear, yet you'll describe another one as excitement, and that's just a mindset shift. And I think right now, if I had a magic wand and I could make anything happen in the world, it would be to try to have this mindset shift
So
of
if you would put that mindset in a sentence, what would be that mind shift be?
the mindset. I guess the mindset shift in one sentence would be, you know, change change the mindset from fear and anxiety to excitement, hope, and help. Right now, when anything happens big in the world, there's two types of of people that, I guess, and organizations as well, that pop up: those who are being helpful and those who are taking advantage. And so, when you look at, I encourage people to try to look around and find the helpers, because they're out there. But the news and the media, that's not a story that's gonna sell. And so, you don't see it as often. So you have to look a little bit more careful for it and cut through the negativity and the fear mongering that's happening, and look and find just how many amazing things are happening in the world right now.
Yeah,
And
including in the
you
business
know,
world as well. So it's
yeah,
just it's humans everywhere. So it doesn't really, yeah, it's not different when you're in work or outside of work. So it's going to the human level. That's, I think, it's a good way to go
yeah.
about it.
And you
Um,
look around, you look around and you even see our planet healing to a degree. Things that we used to do, like all get in our car at the same time, all create traffic and smog, and head to the center of a city and be in these buildings, in these concrete jungles. Yeah, I have vendors and I have people that um, they realized they were spending 2 hours a day in the car, and now those meetings could have all been done over video conferencing. They didn't need
yeah,
to hop in a plane every week and go to New York. um, you know and they've noticed they've been playing catch with their kids, or spending time with their family, or spending time on their mindfulness, meditating, things that they didn't do in the past because they were doing things that were really inefficient. Little changes like that I think are going to really, really help us moving forward as we come out of this as well.
okay, sounds great. Um, we're getting close to the end of our talk, which I enjoy very much, I must say. But for the people who are listening to us, who are watching us, can you please say, give like one, two, three practical tips that's related directly to the business world or to the work environment that they can actually take away from our conversation?
Yeah, I think one number one would be, and I think this is difficult during these times because a lot of people are getting hit with a lot of stressors that their life wasn't before.
Hmm.
But every day, try to wake up and try to invest positivity into somebody or something, right? So that could be something little. It could be on a team meeting. You say, "Hey, everybody, I just want to take a little bit of time and recognize how good of a job everybody's doing, how well you're doing, and if you guys need anything, please, I'm here for you." If you're a leader inside of an organization, I think too, from a business perspective, people are watching right now. The world is watching. So it's never been more important. Like I said, find the helpers. If as an organization, you have something that you can give, if you look at what you can give. For us, this is just a simple thing that we did that made sense for us. We found our business down, you know, because the pandemic was happening and our business was down, and we had call center agents that were available. So we opened up our call center line to do customer service for anything. So we just asked people to call us for anything. We're here, you know, we have people on the phones. And so those something little that you can do with your organization that you can be helpful, because we need everybody to be helpful right now. And I think the third practical thing that you can do as a business, do everything you can to keep your people employed throughout this. When you value that and you do everything you can, even if it costs you in profits right now, to keep people employed is one of the number one ways that you can keep your economy healthy, that you can keep your people healthy. There's a story about Victorinox, the Swiss Army knives, that I love. And it is when 9/11 happened in the United States, and they found their business down almost 70%. Instead of, you know, furloughing their employees, they loaned their employees out to other organizations. And then when they could, brought them back into the organization, but they always stayed an employee of Victorinox. And I think that if you prioritize your people through this, when you get through this, and you will, your people are going to prioritize you. And again, that's
Wow.
that's the biggest and number one resource that you have, because you never know what they're going to do next, what they're going to create next, and what kind of business opportunities they're going to bring to the table. So those are the three
Wow.
things.
That's such a nice sentence to end with. You know, like you take care of your people, or you prioritize your people, and you end up the people or the employees prioritizing you. That's a really nice sentence that I relate to that really much, and I really hope that so many people and companies in the world will do that more and more, because it's not just about, you know, what's happening now. It's something that you can take away even when there's no pandemic going around, even in a day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So Tyler, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It was really, you know, inspiring and interesting and real and authentic, and just thank you, and I really wish you the best, and
Thank
have
you.
a great day, and keep on rocking without the bring your music to the business world.
I will. Thanks for having me, Benny. This is a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much. Really, thank you.
You're
Enjoy.
welcome.
Bye bye.
Bye.